gotten on just yet, so I'm gonna give it over to Josh to go over the broadband grant portal.
Sounds good. Appreciate it, Elizabeth. Um, so essentially the broadband grant portal, I know Paul's going to talk a little bit about the challenge process updates and things like that right after this, but um, as we kind of move towards BEAD and we get closer to, releasing a workforce and deployment and working to digital capacity as well, we wanted to make kind of a unifying experience that's not so application based, like the prior grants. So something where you guys don't have to go in and fill out an application blank every time, put your information in, have things change between applications, just a way to make it a lot easier. So in the next, I believe about 2 to 3 weeks, you should expect it end of April, beginning of May, we will be looking to push out kind of a piece of our Sarah Salesforce platform. It's going to be called the Broadband Grant Portal. We do have some pre-existing accounts that we've created.
Transcribed for evaluation to train personnel and to approve.
One second. Apologies for that. But
Josh, I think we lost you. Might have
Yeah,
muted
you
yourself.
would unmute Josh inadvertently.
apologies, I think that may have caused some issues, but thank you on that. We pre-created some accounts in this grant portal for people that have interacted with us before. This is going to be mainly pertaining to local governments that have submitted applications in the past with us. You may receive an email. The grant portal will essentially be a registration page. You'll ask for information, who the entity is, who the contacts are, what kind of entity are you. And we plan to leverage this both to send out correspondence to you. That way you know when we're opening our grant cycles, our portals, our applications, things like that, as well as allow you guys to get an account to fill out these applications. That way you don't have to fill out who you are every single time. It'll pull information over. For our providers, we're going to do a little bit of extra vetting for things like FEINs, provider IDs, FRNs. You guys will have to put in some of that as well, but it allows us to just make a more pleasant experience for I think us and you all when it comes to applications. So be on the lookout for that. That'll come end of April, beginning of May. If you have any questions or need any help with that, always feel free to reach out to us. And that will be kind of, I think, where we stand on that one. Anything extra to add on that, Jacob?
Yeah, just to jump in, I know, so, we've been talking about pre-registration for BEAD deployment specifically. And I think sort of the idea with this portal is it'll handle all of our applications for all of our applicants. So we'll do essentially a pre-registration process, not just for our service providers, but also for educational institutions, workforce boards, et cetera, that want to handle our workforce stuff, for local governments or whatever, for digital capacity. So the pre-registration will be important for all applicants, for all grants, not just deployment. So once we get that ready to go, like Josh said, you should be seeing an announcement on that in the next couple weeks. Once you get that ready to go, if your organization is looking to apply, go ahead and pre-register in the portal. And if you have been in talks with people who are, sort of waiting for more information, you can have them go ahead and apply as well, or pre-register as well, so that once the official announcements come out, you can be ready to go. Like Josh said, it'll pre-populate a bunch of information in your application, like the finance and tax stuff, which will save us some time, I think, on contracting as well, because we're going to go through and verify that all of this is good to go, and then should be a little bit more efficient on the back-end contracting side as well. So like I said, be on the lookout for that. That'll be coming soon, and it's for all applicants, not just for service providers. And Josh, correct me if I'm wrong, I believe that there's a way to sort of have multiple users on one account. So you would make one account per organization. Like if Leon County wanted to apply through their library for digital capacity, then someone would go in from the county, they would make the account, and then they would add additional users to it. Josh, is that accurate?
Essentially, we'll have like an entity level account, and then we'll have people that can act on behalf of that entity. And the entity account will also have like a primary contact, right? So I can fill it out and list Jacob as a primary contact if I wanted to. I don't have to actually have Jacob go in there and do it. But yes, you're exactly right, Jacob.
So yes, we're doing one, like Josh said, one account per entity per applicant or whatever. So you don't have to make, like if Leon County wanted to do both workforce and digital capacity, that would be one account for the county, and then you would add users to it to work through that. Again, and we'll have more information about it. We'll get it to you, and we will be able to work through that on a TA perspective and walk you through how to register and how to make sure you get everything you need to do, and all that. So, progress is being made here. I'm not sure, has Paul gotten on yet to discuss the challenge process? If not, I think we can probably handle it without him. But if not, if he is on, we can turn that over to him.
Yeah, Jacob, I'm here. You hear me okay?
Yes, sir.
All right. Hi, good morning, everybody. So this challenge process has been a long, drawn-out process. I know NTIA has come back with several changes while we were in the middle of it, and everybody that participated, I'm sure, is frustrating to wait, see what the results are. So we've got two things that we're going to post to our account, probably on Monday. The first is the challenge results. But every challenge that we had to be addressed. So those challenge results will be there. And the second thing will be the BEAD eligibility list. And you're welcome to comment on any of those if you have concerns or whatever. We want to make sure that our ultimate result is a list that shows every location that needs to be served. So if you don't see a location that you anticipate seeing on there, you'll have an opportunity to let us know that. We can make adjustments as we go along. But our bottom line is every location in the state of Florida that does not have service at 100 or 20 or above will end up being part of our BEAD program. We're already talking with the NTIA about some of those locations that didn't exist when we started this program. I know that there's not many homes being built in Florida. There's not a lot of people moving here, but all of those new locations will be part of our program. So if they're not on the list, we're just trying to figure out a way to get a fabric ID associated with new locations, or those locations that for whatever reason were not challenged over the last 3 years. So look forward to seeing that information posted on our website on Monday. Josh and his team are working through making it display the way it should, so it makes it easy to look at. You'll be able to identify whatever location out there that is intended to be part of our service areas for our deployment programs. And if you don't see it out there, don't hesitate to let us know. Are there any other questions that you have about challenge process?
So I just want to make sure that I guess that we're on the same page. This represents approval from NTIA of our challenge process list, correct? This would mean we have approval from the federal government to move forward into the next stage of BEAD. Is that accurate?
That's accurate. We got our approval a week and a half ago. So our challenge process results have been approved. So it's NTIA green to go. So whatever you see as our final BEAD eligibility list is what's already been approved by the NTIA.
So I guess big picture, we are in the midst of completing the service areas for BID, and like Paul said, we'll be listing the list of locations, but we'll also be in very short order listing our service areas for BID for BEAD. So like I said, progress is being made on this front, and very shortly you will see not only a list of locations, eligible locations, served and unserved determinations, but also the actual service areas that we'll be putting out for BID. So I know we've been kind of in a holding pattern for a little bit, but the wheels are starting to get greased a little bit here, and we're starting to see some movement. So any questions on that before we move on? I know that that's sort of a lot.
Yeah, this is Philip Macris. Is it okay to ask a question, or I just defer?
Yes. Yes, sir. Go ahead.
Okay. Number one, what version of the Fabric license are you using at this point in time for the challenge? Just so we know.
Yeah. So we're going to be. Go ahead, Josh.
So we're using kind of a combination of items. It was important to us to kind of use the latest and greatest because the challenge fabric was a year old at this point. So we're using version 5 of the fabric. Key to February 4th is going to be our kind of final lock-in date, and that's February 4th of 2025.
Okay.
Um,
So great. That's good to know.
Sorry about that. Any other questions?
My apologies. I have another follow-up question. I was just talking to the mute.
No worries. Go ahead.
So here's the follow-up question. In other states, they used an earlier version of Fabric, and then the more recent version of Fabric removed a number of locations because they called them de-obligations. Okay, I'm just giving an example, Virginia, and those were bales of hay, rocks, sheds in the middle of a field.
yeah.
They just weren't legitimate locations. They just were picked up previously, and the mapping is getting better. But where are you relative to the process of getting, removing those types of locations from the map, the BEAD eligible locations map? Are we going to have this secondary process? Because they actually had another process that was just for de-obligations itself, made it more complicated, but perhaps you have perspectives on that and you can share.
Yeah, Peter, I can go ahead and share some with you. We've been through this process 2 times now, one with broadband opportunity and one with capital projects. We recognize that the FCC maps are not perfect, and we've had multiple times where we've had to remove locations that didn't truly exist as houses or businesses. So we can provide that information to the FCC, but it's going to be more incumbent upon the folks that are doing the work to let them know that. We'll work through it with any ISP that has identified a location that doesn't really exist, or a location that exists but does not have a Fabric ID associated with it, to try to get the best possible list there is out there. I'm not sure we're ever going to be perfect in this, because as every day goes by, there's new buildings being built, there's new homes being built, there's providers that are withdrawing, so they're no longer able to provide service. So these goalposts are constantly moving. We recognize that. We'll work with the ISPs who have bid on specific service areas to make sure that we get the most accurate list moving forward. We're not going to penalize anybody for not serving a location that truly does not exist. We've been out in the field quite a bit now, doing site visits and checking some of the Fabric IDs, and we've already located a couple of Fabric IDs or addresses that don't have Fabric IDs associated with them. So we'll work through the process to get those taken care of. But ultimately, whatever bid area you got, we're going to work with whomever it is that has that bid area to make sure that they get every location. And if we have to make adjustments in our costs associated with it, we'll do that as we move through it. Again, the goal for Florida is to make sure that we have 100% coverage for every location that's identified. And for every location that has not yet been identified, we'll identify those and get a Fabric ID associated with it.
That's great. Thank you for that update relative to those questions. And you said, did you say that you're going to announce what the locations are going to be, or the broadband serviceable areas is going to be, whether it's by ZICTA, zip code, hexapin, you name it. I've seen so many derivations.
Yeah, we'll release those. They're going to be kind of like polygons. They're going to follow a census block and track level as well. They're just kind of combinations of that. So they're not quite tiny like hex 9s or anything like that. So we'll release those probably in 2 weeks as well, with kind of an app that allows you to see the service area and then the BSLs within that service area. We'll build in a form that you can kind of give feedback on both the BSLs and the project area as well for our kind of public input as well.
Okay, great. Thank you for that. Appreciate that clarification.
And just to clarify, we're going to put those out there in advance of opening the application so that you'll have an advanced look at what those service areas are, so we can kind of finalize all of those before the application cycle even opens.
I believe we have one question in the chat. Josh, did you want to answer that one?
So the question is, how is a resident in a county that is not helping identify underserved areas file a challenge? Should they go directly to the state? So the formal challenge process for BEAD is over, but obviously, as Paul says, we want to make sure we're serving, as much as we can, and people actually need service. So I think it's a combination question on this one. If you're not properly classified, if you're served and you're not actually served, the FCC National Broadband Map is going to be the way to go. Submit an individual challenge, submit the evidence that they require, and that will help it get fixed in the BDC. That trickles down to the state, as the state does not really do a lot of public kind of ingestion. On that as well, we understand BEAD is coming very quickly, very closely. We kind of did project areas to be, I won't say more encompassing of all the BSLs, but we're expecting a little bit of give and take on the amount of BSLs inside of it. So you're welcome to come to us as well. A resident can and just say, hey, I can't get this internet. They have me as served. We'll point them to FCC. At the same time, we'll also incorporate, look to incorporate, make sure it gets properly taken care of and they get internet through whoever wins that service area. So a little bit of both. FCC for sure, go to directly, and then trickle down to us. And they're welcome to contact us, contact anybody, even Jacob or Elizabeth or myself, and we can help sort that out. And thank you for that link, Jacob. That would be the place to do it. You type your address in there, initiate a challenge, and then upload the documentation.
All right, awesome. Thank you so much, Josh. If we don't have any more questions on that, like you said, Jacob put the link in the chat so you guys can look at that, but we'll go ahead and move over to Jacob for a couple more announcements.
Yeah, so we have a handful of exciting things, I think, going on with our workforce stuff. We're seeing a lot of movement on that as well. So for workforce development in general, we mentioned we're going to be essentially handling it through a competitive application and then an RFA specifically for CareerSource. Before we do that, we're going to be launching some webinars to sort of help applicants. That's going to be educational institutions, nonprofits, community action agencies, workforce boards. I said nonprofits already. So, sort of the whole gamut of workforce entities. We've been sort of putting the final touches on the applications and on our webinar information as well. And I think that we are looking to host our webinars next month, before the end of next month. So be on the lookout for that. Like I said, those are going to be coming really soon. And obviously these are all sort of going to tie into our grant portal, because any of these entities that would be interested in applying for these would do so through the grant portal, and then would need to get pre-registered beforehand. So I know we've had a lot of questions about workforce. When is this all going to come out? So if you have any workforce partners who are interested in applying, like I said, please reach out to them with the grant portal once we get you that information, and then have them pre-register, and we can, like I said, make sure that everyone is good to go before we launch. So like I said, it really is coming soon. The webinars are coming together. We are finalizing everything. Sean says one-page flyer regarding the pre-registration process would be useful. We are actively working on that, I will say. Our comms team, that's part of it, in addition to the press release and all that other stuff that we're going to be announcing. We will give you guys a flyer to distribute to your partners. Like I said, we'll work on that, and that will accompany the announcement. So great, thank you for the suggestion. In that vein, we have our Broadband Nation partnership. I know we've been talking that up. We're putting the final touches on that site for sort of a one-stop shop for job seekers, and sort of our marketing arm as well. So we'll be announcing that, like I said, once we get final approval from our leadership, but that will be really good for sort of announcing the trainings that we've already done and that we're funding, so that job seekers will be able to go there and understand what their options are, the career paths, et cetera. Like I said, so that's in the very final stages, and we will, like I said, make sure you guys get that link once it's finalized. And then the last thing I wanted to announce, the Board of Education met 2 weeks ago on the 9th, and they officially signed off on our fiber technician curriculum framework that MasTech and Miami-Dade put forward. So we have that's available to be distributed to our educational partners who are looking for something to work on. Like I said, that got approved, so very excited about that. And that'll go hand in hand with the workforce application and standing up new programs in areas that don't have them. So, like I said, got final approval on that, and I think that will sort of be the thing that kicks off and sets off the first sort of domino in our cascading workforce efforts here. So super excited about that. And like I said, I don't know, I feel like we've been in a holding pattern for so long, and we're finally starting to see some movement on the workforce side as well as on the deployment side. So is FiberTech certification available to outsiders? What do you mean by outsiders? Like someone from go ahead.
As a county, we have our own fiber crew, and we're installing our own middle mile fiber. And we stood that crew up this year, and it wouldn't hurt to send people to something like that if we could. We're not part of a cable company that they normally have training within.
We can fund like tuition and stuff like that. I would think that we would be able to pay for that.
Well, we could pay for it if there's a course to send them to. I just want to make sure we can go into that course. We could cover the costs of the travel and lodging and all that. I'm not looking to get reimbursed for that necessarily.
I would think that you would be able to do that based on what's available in terms of like the community college or technical college, state college, whichever offers the training. That doesn't sound like there would be an issue with that.
It's a course in Miami-Dade though.
So Miami-Dade is developed it in partnership with MasTec. I think that it's sort of it might be like from a time perspective, it might be cumbersome to send them there to take it. I think it's a couple weeks. So I think our thought was once now that their curriculum has been approved, that we could distribute that to other state technical colleges. So like a college in your area would then be able to apply for funding through our upcoming workforce stuff, and then they would be able to attend it that way.
Sorry, I understood. Thank you.
No, yes, sir. No worries. Will information be sent out about that as well, the fiber technician curriculum framework? Yes, ma'am. So we are working, I think, on a press release and announcement and coordinating with Department of Education to make sure that our messaging is aligned on that. But we have, so in the meantime, I can send you the thing that they approved. There's like a little Word document with some details about it and the courses and all that. We can get you that in the meantime, and then we'll get you some more information about the program in general and how we're going to handle everything. But like I said, in the meantime, I think I can even post that in the chat. Let me find that file. Okay. Yes, in the fiber framework. Yeah, like I said, I'll find this file in my email and I will post that in the chat for you all. Justin, are you saying counties may be eligible to have employee tuition covered for the fiber certification? Yeah, tuition is an eligible cost in the for the BEAD Workforce Grant. So yes, if there's if that's something that the college or career source or whatever is looking to cover, yes, that's something that can be reimbursed under the grant.
All right, and we will get that fiber framework sent out to everyone. Does anybody have any questions? I don't see anything else in the chat right now before we move over to the LTPT only section of the call. All righty, it doesn't look like it, so we will go ahead and ask anyone who is not LTPT attendee to go ahead and step off. Thank you so much for coming.
Thank you.
Alrighty, we'll go ahead and start our LTPT only section of the call. Does anyone have any reports, announcements they'd like to make, achievements they'd like to share, or just general questions? Yeah, go ahead, Sandra.
Oh, Sandra, you are muted.
Thank you. Economic Development Department here in DeSoto is hosting a hands-on careers event that we are doing partly to get young people really interested in more technical fields and trades and construction and heavy equipment. But we've also invited our providers to be a part of it, to try to help recruit for these fiber certification program. So anything that you have that we can share at that time would be great. We've got the local state college involved as well. So I think it'll be fun, but also hopefully get some younger people interested in these careers.
Yeah, awesome. Totally agree. And we had the chance to visit South Florida State when I was down there for the Ready meeting, and it's a really, really great facility. So we'll get you the that curriculum framework. I put it in the chat. I'm having trouble uploading the file on Teams, but I have it on my computer, and we'll send it out to everyone on the call afterwards.
Yeah, that's awesome, Sandra. And with Broadband Nation as well, a lot of information as far as careers, so we can get that to you. Peter, you had a question.
Yeah, the digital capacity grant, any updates on that?
We're still waiting, I think, for some information from the federal government on a rules perspective about how we need to proceed with that. We're like I said, we're still going through business as usual on that. We have webinars and applications for that ready to go once we get a little bit more information. But like I said, we're still waiting for a little bit of guidance from the feds on that.
Yeah, but you're ready to go once you get final guidance.
Yes, sir. Yeah, like I said, I have an application. I have webinars. Yes, we'll be ready to go once we have a little bit more concrete understanding.
Okay, the word on the street is Ariel Roth should get final approval shortly, but she's actually just had her 6th child and is going to be on maternity leave. I don't know if you've heard that.
Yes, we did hear that about the maternity leave thing. Like you said, we're hoping that does not delay things too long, but hope we get approval. We'll have to see.
Thanks very much.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, Tommy, you had your hand raised.
Yeah, I think we're keeping you in the loop, but we're supposed to go to Alachua County, going to our board. We set aside $14 million of local funds, and Windstream is won the grant for 4 service areas. So we're about to hit a lot of these areas we talked about that y'all are looking at. So that's going to help a lot. And also it's going to kind of trigger them to work on some of their other grant awards that they had received they hadn't started yet, RDOP and some of those. So those are some positives coming out of Alachua County, and should have those started. And they have, I think, 2 years is what we put on them to have implemented and have the fiber available. So we're excited about that.
Awesome. Thank you for sharing. That's great. Great to hear.
Yeah, Tom, if I could ask you to, if we can have Windstream get in touch with us so that we can identify the fabric IDs that they plan to serve, because if we didn't know about it in advance, it's probably already considered BEAD eligible. We want to make sure we clean that list up. So if you could have somebody from Windstream give us a call, I'd appreciate it.
Yeah, Ethan's on the call, so I'm sure he'll follow up.
Perfect. Thank you very much.
Kyle, yeah, you have your hand raised.
Thank you so much. So I have received from, excuse my voice. I have a cold, and we were at Kids Week this, early this week. So they're on the Capitol talking a lot. So please excuse me. I've been getting some notifications from ISPs asking us to lobby legislatures for more local control with the BEAD program, and I feel a little cautious about that. There are some indications that in other states that did not implement LTPTs, that there's a real need for greater local control. There was some negative comments about states not really listening. And there was some indication that maybe Florida would not be quite that way because we did implement LTPTs. Can you comment, you guys, on that a little bit, or Paul maybe comment on that? It sounded like some ISPs felt very uncomfortable with the steering that is happening in other states, and so it's hard for me to form an opinion because we have enjoyed such an excellent relationship with the Office of Broadband through our LTPT that I'm not sure I see any kind of need for a greater level of local control or input into any contracting for BEAD grants.
So I'll say we haven't heard that from the service providers, at least, about needing to sort of give some local control to you guys. To your point, I think we've done a pretty good job of looping you in and making sure that the LTPTs and local leaders are involved and informed of all of our processes. I don't exactly know if you did get more local control, what that would look like. But I think in terms of our relationship with the federal government right now, we're trying to pare back, I think, some rules and regulations that are potentially burdensome and may make things take longer. So I think our sort of priority in that regard that's where that's been. I don't know if Paul has another thought about it.
Yeah, so we've heard the same thing from other states, but we're not other states, and we have taken the position that everything local is more important to us than things at the state level. And we've been working with all the LTPTs, with the counties, with the ISPs to make sure that everybody's on the same page when we move forward with this stuff. So we have probably a better relationship statewide with local authorities and the ISPs than any other state. So some of the other states are dictating from afar, and we're not doing that. We're making sure that all the local people have their opportunity to speak, including those at the resident level. We get dozens of emails on a weekly basis of people that have seen the signs that they're going to get internet but don't know when. So we put those people in touch with the providers that have won the awards for those areas. And where there is no provider, we've let them know that they are going to be part of the BEAD program. And we keep a list of those so we know which locations there are. So I have heard the same thing, Kyle, but I've heard it relating to other states. I haven't heard anything on the federal level to make things more local. I don't think that many complaints have been levied in Florida. If there are some, we were always here to listen. So I think we're in pretty good shape.
I agree. And so our position is we would rather not change anything. We have had an outstanding relationship and experience. And I just had a little suspicion that there may be some of our more rural providers who may not necessarily want to stretch as far as they may be asked to stretch in existing contracts. But from our point of view, that's exactly what needs to happen. And it looks like you guys are advocating for us. So I thank you for addressing it, and we're just going to stay the course. We appreciate y'all.
Awesome. Thank you, Kyle.
Yeah, thank you for that information and that feedback, and thank you for your comment, Peter, as well. I believe we had another question, Kyle, from you about digital capacity grants being awarded. I don't believe, right, Jacob, that we have anything else?
Yeah, so we had some digital competitive announcements in the last administration, and then we had the administration change, and they did not, I don't think, allocate all of the funds, or they didn't award all the funds that were allocated. So I'm not exactly sure how that's going to be handled, and I'm not sure how the grantees that were already announced, I don't believe any of them have been paid. So I think they're in a little bit of a holding pattern on the competitive side. For our capacity program, like I said, we're still trying to make sure that everything is above board before we proceed. But we don't have any capacity awards to announce. And like I said, I'm not sure exactly how they're going to resolve the issues that they're having with the competitive grant. We had, I think, 3 or 4 awardees in Florida. Like I said, I don't believe any of them have been paid. So like I said, we're going to have to see.
All right. And does anyone have any other questions or reports they'd like to give? I don't see anything in the chat. All righty. Well, with that, we'll give you your time back in your day. And thank you so much for coming. I'm going to go ahead and end the recording. Y'all have a good rest of your day and a good rest of your week.
Thanks, everyone.
Thank you, guys. Appreciate it.